Hi, I'm Gwen Schoen, food writer for the Sacramento Bee, and today in the kitchen I'm going to show you how to make beautifully decorated sugar cookies, the type that you see on magazine covers and in catalogs, but it's so difficult to achieve those results at home. The trick to doing this so that you'll have those beautifully glossed cookies is to make the frosting the consistency of honey. And usually when people make frosting for decorating cookies, they try to make it the same consistency as you would for frosting a cake. But you'll have those nice glossy results if you make it a lot thinner than that. So we're going to start with the basic frosting recipe, and we've got 2½ cups of powdered sugar. We'll put that in the mixer bowl. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of water, and it probably will take more water than this, but we'll start with 2 tablespoons and then add extra. Then we'll add a tablespoon of butter. And I recommend using butter because it's a lighter color than margarine, and so your frosting when you're doing white will turn out a lot whiter. Then we're going to add a tablespoon of light corn syrup, and I think the corn syrup is what's going to give you a nice glossy look to the cookies when they're finished, so that's why we're adding corn syrup to it. And you can add a little bit of almond extract if you like. About ½ teaspoon would be about right. You don't have to add any flavoring to it, but if you do, I recommend almond because it's clear and it won't change the color of your frosting. So we're going to mix this up until it's the consistency of honey. Now you'll see as you're mixing this up that it's still pretty thick. So we're going to thin it down a little bit with a little bit more water, and you should probably add it about 1 teaspoon at a time until you have the right consistency. Now the frosting is still pretty thin, but it really needs to be a little bit thinner to work with a little easier. So we're going to add about another teaspoon of water. And now you can see how it runs off the beater. It really is the consistency of honey. And that's what's going to make nice, beautifully glazed frosting. Now we've got the frosting is made the consistency of honey. And so we're going to add some coloring to it. And I like to use a paste coloring, the type that they use for making decorated cakes. But you can also use the same type that you add in little drops that you find at the grocery store. So you can find this at craft stores or at cake decorating, where they sell cake decorating supplies. But if you use this type of coloring, make sure you just add a very tiny amount. You can always add more. I like to add it with a toothpick. And also be very careful where you place your little containers because it will stain your countertop, stain your fingers too. And we'll add a little bit. We're going to use red, green, and blue, and then we'll need 1 in white so we can make some nice snowflakes. So just a little dab on each toothpick into each bowl. Then we'll add a little bit of frosting, the white frosting to each bowl. You can see how thin this is, and then we'll keep some white. Now when you mix this up, the coloring will come off the toothpick. See how bright green that is with just a drop of coloring. Now we're ready for the fun part, decorating the cookies. So now we've got all the frosting tinted, and we're going to frost the cookies using paintbrushes, and that's a little bit different too. I like to use paintbrushes that you get at the craft store, and they're very inexpensive. Just wash them really good, make sure they're really dry, and then save these for your decorating projects, for your cookie projects. And just paint the cookies with the glaze. And as you'll see, the glaze just goes on sort of like a gel, and you can just keep working with it until you've got the cookie completely covered the way you want it. And once this gel sits for a few minutes, the surface will harden and you can add another coating of color if you want. And that's really nice if you're going to do something like gingerbread men, because then you can paint the gingerbread men and then go back and add their buttons and their faces and things. Now, While the glaze is still wet, you can also sprinkle sugar over the top, which I've done with a couple of these that I've already painted. And this will set up really nice and firm. So after you've finished decorating all of your cookies, you can actually stack them and wrap them up in plastic bags so that you can give them as gifts if you'd like. Now, once the cookies sit for a few minutes after you've added your base coat, you can go back and add some other colors to it if you want. And because we're using this nice glaze, the colors will show even though you're adding a light color over a dark one. So we'll add a few little snowflake tips here to our pretty blue snowflake. And this white frosting will harden over the top of the blue. And there you have beautiful sugar cookies, just like you see them in magazines.